Welcome to Conversations with Toi, a blogcast tackling life one episode at a time. This is the time to air out life's craziest moments. This space is all about speaking about life's hang-ups and ways in which we can leave better than when we started. Topics are all about ways we can find space to be better in life, love, mental space, and health.
Friday. I hope that you have had the most amazing week. Thank you so much for tuning in to Conversations with Toi. I am Toi, your podcaster. I wear so many hats. Let's go through them. I am a content creator. I am a influencer. I am a blogger, freelance writer. I am like social media, all things. If you need it, I can do it. I am telling you I can do all the things. But the hats that I love wearing the most is being wife and a mother of 3 amazing children. Welcome to this week's podcast. We are closing in on April. April is almost over. And we have had a month. If you have not listened to last week's episode, we talked about those 62 million men that were out here making a rape academy. And I'm going to give another trigger warning. I believe I gave one last week. I am going to give another trigger warning. We will be talking about violence against women. I don't know what's in the water, but we need to go ahead and give people some filters because we need y'all to filter that water. Some of y'all is drinking from the same cup, and I'm talking about men, and I'm going to need you to put the cup down. At this point, I just need you to put the cup down because the literal time, every time I blink, I feel like I am hearing these widespread stories of women being abused, killed, and harmed. And I'm not shocked by it. Not at all. It's just that because we have the internet and we can get to news a lot quicker, it's becoming more faster information. It's overwhelming. Okay. So we're going to talk about that. But let's just talk about how did this week go for me? I think this week went pretty decently. I'm back onto the scene of trying to create content, going to a few more extra events. I had taken a little bit of a hiatus somewhat to a certain degree. I know people were like, well, I can't tell. Your social media seems like you're out every night. I actually am not. I'm not. And I'm grateful for that. Because I don't need to be out every night. I have my self-care. I have my rest. I have my, try to do my work. I got things to do. So I don't need to be out every night. However, this week I will say that I've been out a little bit more than I normally have. And it felt good. But next week, we back at the calm. Next week, we're back at the laying low a little bit. Next week, we have a little bit more downtime, which is great because I need to start switching things over on the blog for the month of May anyway, so it all works out. I am just trying to do my best to get through this week. I am also reading a brand new book. I'm reading it, and I'm going to talk about it very briefly because I'm not done reading the book as of yet. But what I will say is that everybody was up in arms. And it's interesting. A lot of people were just beside themselves about Emma Greed's book. And I think it's her comments about her saying how often or how long she interacts with her children, like on the weekends and things. I think we need to remember that she's talking about what works best for her. When people talk about their own personal experiences, about what works for them, a lot of us, and I mean just us as a people, we have to play this comparison game. And she's really not asking anybody to compare their lives to hers. What works for her works for her. I do believe that in one aspect she is highlighting by saying what her capacity is that a lot of us as moms are overwhelmed. We're overworked, and we're underappreciated. Whatever she's doing that works for her, that will give her the opposite of those feelings, how can I be against that? Just because her method doesn't work for me, or doesn't work for you, or doesn't work for some other type of mom, it doesn't begin to matter. We have to get really comfortable of understanding there are 1,001 ways to get to the same result. 1 times 1 or 1 times 2 is still 2. Let's give a better example. 2 times 2 is 4, 3 plus 1 is 4, 1 plus, 2 plus 2. Like, there's other options. There's legitimately other options, other ways to get to the same destination. It's like in Philadelphia. I don't even go home the same way every single day. I like to switch up my routines because there's a million other ways to get to the destination. So I refuse to be a crash out dummy over something somebody else is saying. I refuse to allow myself to be overwhelmed and going through all these different emotions based upon what somebody else is saying, based upon what somebody else is doing. So I need y'all to follow that example. Stop getting worked up. Stop getting all flustered. Stop allowing all these other people to just have their hands up and say about what you should be doing. She's not saying that this way is the only way, and if you don't do it this way, that you're a bad mom. She's just telling you what works for her. Now, whether she spends 2 minutes, 2 hours, 20,000 hours, that works for their family. We don't know their dynamic. We don't know how they move every single day and how they get things done. So I can only say is if it's working for you and the kids are healthy in spirit, mind, and body, I'm good with it. Before we get too heavy into the heavy topics that we're going to talk about today, I do want to talk about some things. Bran Flakes is a Philadelphia influencer. He's actually sort of like, he's from Philly, but he's more worldwide-ish, meaning he has a lot of reach, he has a lot of leverage, he has a lot of pull. And in the last few weeks, we have, and when I say we, just people in general have been dissecting him going to Coachella with Starbucks. A lot of people are saying that he could have went on his own. He makes this type of money. As a content creator, I think one of the things that people don't realize is that content creation is a beautiful thing, and it can lead to you being able to monetize. Monetize is just exactly what it sounds like. It's taking your platforms and being able to make money off of it. And some people start off slow. Some people, they hit the jackpot, they start running. Some people's creativity just it soars quick. Some people's takes time. It's different levels to it. If you believe in the boycott of Starbucks, it definitely, when it comes to the situation with Palestine and all those things, that is something that you need to hold true and dear. I think the problem is that I've listened to everybody's think pieces on Bran and about how we need to cancel him. I don't foresee him being canceled. I don't. I do believe that his privilege, I believe that him being, just because he's a white gay man doesn't allow him to necessarily be canceled. I think that his proximity to him being able to have his whiteness and also lean in on again, being a part of the LGBTQ plus community will allow him to be fine. I think that if there was a switch in something else, I think that that might cause him to be canceled, but I don't see him being canceled anytime soon. I like some of the takes that a lot of people have said. It's like, you're complaining about Starbucks. Somebody else might be saying, I'm not going to buy another iPhone. I'm not here for Apple products. But it's like, hey, you're recording from an Apple product telling people that you shouldn't be mad about Starbucks, or you're recording, or you're in Target being mad at somebody who's at Amazon. I think that everybody has to have their personal levels of what they will accept and what they won't. What's their line? What's their line of like, this is not going to be acceptable? Because I know that when I started coming into the game, I made it very clear that I wasn't switching up and I wasn't doing that for anything that I didn't believe in. And again, I just don't believe that he's going to be canceled. Matter of fact, not only was he not canceled, but there was a lot of conversations about him. Of course, yeah, we're talking about him right now, but it wasn't really a lot of cancellation because I just don't see it for him. I don't. And matter of fact, not only that, he ended up signing with he has a management, but he signed up for a talent agent. And then he's also going to be bi-coastal. Again, none of these things I saw as canceling for him. I do believe in my heart of hearts that if that had been anybody else for any other reasons, I 100% believe they would be on the quote unquote cancel list, but I don't foresee him being canceled. I think some people may not necessarily deal with him and fiddle with him, but I feel like the level of people who are not dealing with him and fiddling with him, somebody else will just take the place. Now, that doesn't mean that I feel like he's right, he's wrong, he's this and that. I will say this, I personally feel like you need to know where your anchor holds. What is your line? I don't know Bran Flakes' line. I don't know what it is that he's like, absolutely not, and this is what I will do. I don't know that. I think that he has said a lot of the things that he doesn't deal with or won't tolerate on a lot of different subjects, but that doesn't mean that I know where his line is at when it comes to his business, when it comes to his, reach, when it comes to him doing his trips. I think Bran Flakes has been on at least 5 or 6 brand trips in the last few months that I've seen that he's posted. So I don't see him stopping anytime soon. I don't see that. I think that the think pieces are probably going to continue. I think that one thing I will say is that I was grateful that he talked about how tone deaf he was when he was making the statement about, like, oh my gosh, nobody has reached out to me to go to Coachella, and I was concerned because I didn't get anything. But here's the other part of that. I think there is this conversation amongst creators, and we are going to talk about that very much right after this. There is a little mentality that comes in with creators. Now, some people can say that it's the, you think you're too good, or you think you're this, or you think you're that. I think that once you start to make it to a certain level, you just know that certain things is going to happen. Certain things are just going to align themselves. It's just the way that it is. I say all that to say is that because I know that that's the case, someone else who is not a content creator would see that as the tone deaf that it was. Now, again, he was tone deaf in what he was saying. I love when people say things out loud that they probably should have kept, between them and Jesus. I love that, because now you really do get to see it. And the tone deafness is like, I want to hold somebody accountable for that. I want to hold somebody accountable for if he was on here on the apps and all the things saying that he doesn't fool with Starbucks and then went with them. Now that's the type of stuff that I want to hold people accountable. I can't really hold somebody accountable on not knowing where his moral grounds are. I don't know where his line, again, I don't know where his baseline is. So I can't judge a person for not knowing their baseline. Now, I can have opinions. Oh, I can have opinions to hear till Jesus. But to judge or say, like, this is the definitive, like how this and that, I can't see it per se. But I will say that I'm not also giving a pass. I think, again, the tone deafness was ridiculous. When you go on these brand trips, you kind of have to, you got to post, you got to do all the things, because that's usually what they're looking for. And even when they tell you that you don't have to post, it's usually the some type of underline that you will. In the same lights of entitlements and who do we think we are, Ashley Everett, who's Beyonce's, used to be her, I don't know what you call main dancer, principal dancer. Her principal dancer when Beyonce was out, doing her thing in her earlier years. We have all known that Ashley was always the one that was the right-hand man to Beyonce when it came to the dance. She was the dance captain, all those things. And we love Ashley. There's like no Ashley hate over here. But Virgin Voyages have been doing this creator trip, these cruise, and they took a lot of content creators. I mean, there were several content creators that I know personally that are from Philadelphia that are on that trip, and congrats to all of the people that have gone, the different, lovely amounts of people that have went. I am so happy for you, because I think that's a beautiful thing. And from what I could tell, they did not skimp on any of the details, and I love that, because when you go on a brand trip, I've been on a few, and I can tell you right now, the attention to detail is everything. So the fact that they were doing that for all these wonderful content creators is a beautiful thing. Now, Ashley got invited to go on this brand trip as well. And again, just because she's Ashley and she's Beyonce's principal dancer and captain, all that stuff, none of that changes. Once they bring you on, again, it is understood. They may even have it in the contract that you need to post however many stories, however many reels, however many whatevers. And it's up to you to decide if you're going to do that. And again, that decision is made prior to them contracts isn't set. If there's a contract that needs to be made or understanding or something, but most likely a contract to some degree, that's what they're expecting. So Ashley decided to take the trip, and it was during the time that they're there is during her birthday. So she was like, basically, like some people do, I've done it too. It's like, okay, I'm going to take this brand trip, or I'm going to take this trip, or take this whatever, and this is going to be my birthday turn up. But also keep in mind, the other flip is that you're also working. Now, to some people who are not content creators, like, oh, y'all just go in there and you throw your camera in somebody's face and you record, and then all of a sudden you guys get this, you get that. Again, let me just preface, I can understand your thought process from the outside looking in, but from those of us who are in this light, We know the time and effort that it takes to edit. It doesn't matter that you have different apps that can edit or help you to edit a little quicker. Helping you to edit quicker doesn't stop, especially if you're a creator like myself who is always batching content. I think I post at least 2 or 3 times a day. And in order for me to do that and to have the caption together, to have my copy together, to edit and post all the things, it takes a lot because especially for somebody like myself, I'm not just focused on one platform. I'm posting on all different platforms. So that means I got to write a blog post that's going up on the webpage. Then you got Instagram. That's got to be a story or reel or static page or static post. Then you got TikTok. Then you have, if you're still using X or Twitter, then you have even people using Snapchat. Again, there are 11 things to do when it comes to being a content creator and posting that stuff out. So still, it is yet work. She was upset because while they were doing, I believe, Single Ladies, somebody, and I have read conflicting stories because at one point they were making it seem as if Virgin, the cruise ship people had done it, and then she came in and made a statement stating that it wasn't them, it might have been somebody else who might have been there. I don't think that the cruise was just exclusively to the content creators, but again, since I'm not there, I can't confirm or deny. I will just say that's my understanding. So I believe there were other people on this cruise ship. And again, these experiences that people are going on has to boil down to what's your bottom line. Because somebody might be like, well, I have an issue with Virgin Voyages because I feel like they did this and did that. And I have been seeing some of y'all that are actually on the trip. I just want to preface, I think that there have been plenty of times that as a content creator that I have been in different aspects of places and things have gone left. But how you handle that situation will absolutely matter, not just for the invitation. A lot of people say don't burn the bridge of the company that you're with. You shouldn't, 100%, that's sound advice. But also because eyes are always on you. The second you go online and you're complaining about A, B, or C, especially like this whole Virgin Cruise is like, and when I mean Virgin Cruise, I mean the company. Don't do it. Some of y'all, I just gotta make that plain. But there could be other companies that's watching how you handle a situation from another company, and they're like looking at that, and they may decide like, I don't want to deal with that. Like I was gonna give her a chance, but I don't feel like tolerating that because God forbid we do something wrong, and then we got to hear our name being drugged on these internet streets. And being drugged on the internet streets sometimes is worse than going to court. It's just, it is what it is. So Ashley has apologized. She is taking responsibility and accountability, and even amongst those posts, I still say people are saying like nobody came to see you. This wasn't about you. This was a trip that was also either a paid or even sponsored. However they did it, and at the end of the day, you need to be careful. I 100% believe you 100% should be careful about how you talk about another company, because although the company in question might be wrong, how you handle it matters as well. 3 pet peeves of the week that I've experienced as a content creator, since we're talking content creators, is please stop sending me like the sending me of the press release, and then me knowing that you know that I know that you had a content creator, that not even just one but several content creators that attended an event, but why are you sending me the press conference if I'm not attending? And I get it. There are 1,001 factors. Certain clients may want certain numbers for certain things. Certain things may not fit your quote unquote niche. You might be in a situation where maybe you've been bumped from the A list to the C list. There's a lot of, and again, we've talked about this whole list thing versus it does exist, does it not exist, because I believe you can surpass and overflow into anything without any niche. You can do it all. But again, there are these things there are factors that matter. But people that send me these press releases, I used to post all these press releases. I would, condense it because press releases becoming so long. I try to find the meat and potatoes and get the information out, put the link on there so people can purchase a ticket or do whatever they're going to do with the information. And then I go about my way. But sending me these long press releases and asking me to post for something that you didn't even ask for me to come to something, it's really asinine, because there are certain things that I can advertise and just post put a poster up or something or whatever it is, dip into my Canvas skills. But then there are certain things where it's like, either I'm going to post later or I'm not. Like there are levels. There are levels. So again, a lot of stuff is happening in the content creation word. So I talked about the press releases. Number two, my number two pet peeve of the week. These last minute, hey, we were just like, want to know if you can show up. It's 2:00, but you want me to come to something at 6. It's 2:00, but you're wanting me to come to something at 5. What happened to the days when we can just kind of like extend our hand and have things on the books, right? Now, I also know that as much as I would prefer to have things on the books, I do know that there are times that a heads up cannot be granted. You don't get exclusivity to getting that information and deciding if you're going to post. Like, there are other things happening. But this sending last minute invitations just don't work for me. I just cannot switch myself on or off in a moment's notice. But I will say there's been plenty of times when I wanted to come to something. I was ready for me to like go off the deep end because, again, that can happen. But in the same token, I'm learning that the press release is one, and that the second thing would be, again, last minute invites can always be avoided. The third thing that has been on my list on this whole content creator thing is, if you are going to have your certain special set content creators that have exclusive stuff to things that everybody else is doing, I don't have a problem with that. What I have a problem with that is the amnesia. If somebody was to ask you about something, you don't have to say anything. I mean, I'm trying to meet you where you're at, but telling other people and then saying don't mention it to this specific creator is got to stop, because you're just creating animosity that don't necessarily need to be. You're creating problems that don't necessarily need to be. And a lot of times, 9 times out of 10 and 10 times out of 9, it's going to get back to the person, especially here in Philadelphia. It's not like other places where there's a wide spread of content creators. So you have your niches, but then you have people that kind of click up and then you don't. When you're in small spaces like this, it's just best to just do the bare. It's like, just do the bare minimum at this point. Okay. Before I started even recording today, I saw a 14-year-old. We're going to get right into the heavy stuff now. I saw a 14-year-old boy pick up a young girl, don't know her age. She looks around about the same age. And he asked her for her number, and she stood up for herself and was just like, no. He picked her up physically. We didn't say pick her up in her spirit. We didn't say lift her up into the Lord in prayer. We didn't say take it to Jesus and he'll give you an answer later. He physically picked her up, threw her onto the ground, and as if that wasn't enough, began to stomp her out while whomever was recording, laughing, egging it on. Here is the problematic issue. We're talking about violence against women and girls, right? We've been seeing the stories. We got these people, women wives being murdered in their home in front of their children. We got all these different stories going on. Women whose names we can't forget. Things that are going on. And you have a 14-year-old boy who heard the word no, and his reaction was to incite violence against this young lady. Now, from what I read, she is she's in stable condition. She's in the hospital. He has been, let's not say unfortunately. He's been fortunately arrested. Here's the problem that I'm going to say, that I got to start with the parents first, because I know that as a parent, we can't stop our kids 24/7. We can't be with them 24/7, 100%. But to have that level of anger is really something that has to be discussed. This is a 14-year-old boy. This is a 14-year-old boy. I've already had to deal with my own daughter about boys that were being physical and doing all that stuff. Listen, I need everybody to extend your hand to your phone, whatever you listening to this, and extend your hand, because I will go down to the jail for mine. But here's the problem. We teach our daughters that now in this here age, if somebody asks you for your number at this point, you almost have to give it to them because you're afraid of this type of thing happening. I am a married woman. I think I talked about this last week. And I was in a casino where a guy was acting all kinds of obscene. And I was like, listen, I gave him my number. I waited until I got in my car. I then drove and got home and then blocked him because it was a mess. He was acting out of pocket, even with security and everything else there. The fact that we have to teach our daughters how to maneuver or even attempt to maneuver, because as we all have been able to see and we already know, you could do all the things right. You could do everything to try to protect yourself and still be unprotected. Why are y'all men getting upset about women saying that they would rather choose the bear than to be with another man that we know our lives can be on the line? Okay? What are y'all teaching your sons? What are y'all legitimately teaching your sons? Because I'm having conversations about with my son. Like, my husband's doing his thing as a father should with his son, but as a mother and as a woman, I am having conversations with my son about, hey, what does consent sound like? What does it look like? Hey, what happens if you're in a situation and let's say you putting yourself out there to a young lady, you're trying to get to know her, and she rejects you in front of everybody. How is your anger going to withstand? Like, where's your anger levels at? You can't convince me that that 14-year-old boy didn't show some levels of aggression and that all of a sudden this happened. I don't believe that. I believe that he's been very much practicing on other people, because audacity gave him the strength of Daniel to get up there and sit up there and rock that girl. And this is somebody's daughter. This is somebody's daughter. We're teaching the girls this. We're teaching them to do this, say this, be aware, be in the open. We're doing all that stuff. But where is the teaching to these young boys? Where is it? Right? And I used to think back in the days about how, like, if a woman was being abused, why didn't, because again, we were indoctrinated with that thought process. Like, why ain't she doing what she got to do? Why she didn't leave him? Why she didn't do this? Why she didn't do that? But the question isn't just opposed to the woman. It's now to the men. What is some of y'all that have these men or male friend circles or even conversations via text or whatever the case may be? How are we at a point at this big age? I am about to be 45 in less than 2 weeks. Again, make it make sense. How, again, are we not in position to teach our sons the very things to help them learn what consent looks like, how to control themselves? And if you're recognizing that your teenager is already so far gone in their emotions that they just don't control them well, it might be time to get some outside help. Because again, too many girls, too many women are dying or being seriously injured, or even just in the least bit. It don't have to have levels to it, but to be in a situation where you felt like this was the way of life for you, like you're just going to take somebody's life, you're just going to take somebody out, you're going to cause bodily harm to another person. That's somebody's daughter. That could be your sister. That could be your cousin, right? I'm not understanding this at all. Just this week, a comedian named Uncle Stanley Joe, or let me clarify that. I was right. Uncle Stanley Joe. Horrible video of him beating the brakes off of his wife, because I believe they are still married, from my understanding that they are still legally married. And when I tell you, he beat her literally as if she was some man on the street. I kept mincing watching it. It was hard. It was legitimately a hard video to watch. I think I asked this question last episode, because when we were talking about rape, you have to talk about violence, because unfortunately rape and violence do go together. So we did talk about that last week. But I think I asked the question, and I'm going to ask it again. As a woman, if I tell somebody something and I'm saying that you're bothering me, you're doing this, you're doing that, I'm going to be looked at as somebody who's being problematic. She's getting on my nerves. She's doing this. She's saying this. All these things might happen. But my problem is where are the men calling out other men? I'm grateful that there's been an increase of men, especially online, that's been calling out other men and their bad behavior. 100%. I see the increase. I 100% do. But until we get to the point where other men consistently hold other men accountable for their bad behavior, we are doomed. As a woman, I am doomed. I have daughters. I am doomed. I'm trying to do everything I can to, one, keep them safe, and also educate my son, because he plays a part in this as well. Right? So trying to get my son to make sure he's respectful. And trust me, my son's an extremely respectful person, but it's a different story with him being a respectful child and a respectful student. I want him to also be a respectful boyfriend. I want him to be, eventually, if that's what he chooses, to be a respectful husband. Like, I want him to be respectful in every aspect. And if he keeps that in line and controls his emotions, he's going to be fine. But I'm having those conversations like, hey, when you're having these discussions with, like, let's say even a female friend who's just exclusively just a friend, like, what happens when you have the different opinions that differs than you? Because a lot of times we keep hearing about how women are so emotional, and I think there is some truth to that, but we got to stop acting as if men don't have their emotions. Their emotions usually will come out in the form of violence. Either they're going to fight another man because you don't get along or don't agree with a sentiment that was given, or you're going to then do that and you're going to cause harm to somebody else, right? Because violence goes together with in having an emotional, unstable man. Well, the violence is not far from him. Because what's regulating him? We talk about emotional regulation as you know, we talk about mental health, we talk about wellness. Emotional regulation and regulation is important, but a lot of times we don't talk about that because God forbid you say, hey, you're not in control of yourself, and then you got to have somebody say, yeah, I am controlling myself. See what you're doing when somebody has all eyes on you on the see moments ain't exactly the same of what happens to you or what will happen to you when you have moments when you can make the decisions, you can make things happen. How do you expect to maneuver around that? That is my question for my men and my sons and all the things. Like, what is your goal plan? What's going to happen? What's the next step? As I'm recording this, I'm looking up at a decal that we have on the wall, and it says 2 things you are in total control in life, and that is your attitude and your effort. You get to dictate how much effort you're putting into your everyday life, how much effort you're putting into your goals, how much effort you're putting into your emotional well-being, how much effort you're putting into your wellness, how much effort are you putting into making sure that you're a whole, happy human being. And you get to control your attitude. You are in control. People that make excuses and say, well, so-and-so made me do it the way they was doing it, none of that matters. You are in control of your emotions. You are in control of your effort. How much of an effort are you truly putting in to make sure that you're not disrespecting women, that you're putting the effort into making sure that other people know that they need to be respectful in and around you, and you better not catch wind of it because it's going to be furniture moving. Where is that at? That's what I'm talking about. Unfortunately, the excuse that the comedian gave, is that this was 3 years ago and he's a changed man. I'm going to beg to differ. If you have seen that video, and I think he has recently taken down his response video, but he's still making light of it. He's like, I'm sorry that, you see the change in me and now you want to throw me underneath the bus. It was never, I'm sorry for what I did. I take accountability. It's never, I'm sorry for what I've done and I should have never done that again. And I want to apologize publicly as well as I've already apologized privately. It was never that. His ego was bruised because he didn't think that she was going to post that. Now everybody gets to see the man that she already know he was. Let me tell you something. When I tell you as a wife, people keep saying these things, and I need y'all to dispel this conversation. You see somebody that's quote unquote happy and they're in a relationship, and everybody equates that person's happiness with the person that they're with, which I do believe that does play a significant part. But people will say they look so happy. I could never imagine anything happening or going in their marriage. Please stop. Please stop. Please stop. Please stop doing that. Stop saying that. Stop putting that in the atmosphere, because that type of conversation, that type of mentality is the reason why women suffer in silence. They do. They know that they're being beat up. They know that they have all these things happening. You could be disrespected to no end in home. You could be fighting for your life on an emotional battle. You could have somebody that knows your triggers and is triggering you just so that you can leave. Listen, Linda, listen. We have to stop this ideology of other people, because we get to this point where we think that what we think we see is the truth, and you shouldn't believe everything that you see, because it could be smoke screens and all kinds of carrying on. So, are we safe as women? Are we safe? I wish I could say we are, but we all know that that's not the case. Us women are full on aware of the violence that women suffer every single day. Us women are aware of the excuses that are given once the violence has been portrayed. Us women, we know. So, would we choose the bear over a man? Yeah. Yeah. It's not always all men, but it is always a man. It's not always all men, but it is a man. And that was last week's episode. Go back and listen to it. Because here we are, and we're still talking about it because these events is popping off literally every minute. Every minute we got something going on with somebody doing that. We got some minute where every minute. There's too many women that should still be here, yet they're not. They can't get engaged. They can lose their life. They can't be married and do all the things. They could lose their life. You can't try to get out the marriage to make yourself a better person. Can't do that. So you either stay and endure, or you leave, and you may not leave with your life. You might leave because of the way that you left the earth. So again, it's been a hard week. It's been a difficult few weeks. I hate having to come back to back with these crazy stories, but this reality is where we're at. This is kind of unfortunately where we are, and I pray that it's gonna get better, because as a mother, as a woman myself, I don't have any words. Because I know, and you know, as a woman, if you're listening to this as a woman, you know the truth. You know this is real reality. You know it. We've lived this our whole life. You know, people think that, you start off with the cat calling, then it escalates to something else. Like, I've been in different types of situations, and it's not been pretty. I pray every day for the safety of myself and all those and everybody, really. But God knows my daughters and myself. Like, I pray we all, as women especially, can just be safe. Like, to fear the fact that at any time, even as a married person, that doesn't stop you from experiencing it. It might even increase it more. Because women are just, pure property. I mean, God forbid we be a whole human being, right? To end with some joy, I think I talked about this before. I saw Michael, the movie, and Michael Jackson movie, and I liked it. I liked it because it delved a little bit deeper into some of the beginning roots of Michael's issues, the issues with his body, the issue with how he was perceived with his father. We know the story for the most part, but I've never seen it being portrayed the way that they did. They made Michael as he is, or as he is, however you like to look at that. They made him as if he was, one, still here, but two, as a human being that he was. Sometimes we don't look at him, at Michael Jackson, as a human. We look at Michael Jackson for his output, what he's able to put out into the world, what he's able to give, and all this other stuff. But as a person, he had feelings. He was complex. He wanted to make sure he uplifted his people. There's so many things that I loved about this movie. So I'm going to tell you, just like I said with anything else, please go and check it out for yourself. So many people get so wrapped up with everybody's opinion. Listen, we all got opinions. It's like we all got them. So, but I'm going to encourage you to go ahead and watch it. Let me know how you felt about it. I really enjoyed it. The reason why I'm talking about it this week and not last week when I saw it was because, we're under embargo when we see movies before they come out. And I wanted to be respectful of that. But the movie is now out, and so with that being said, go give it a try. I'm quite sure, without even having to think, that it's definitely going to surpass the numbers that they've wanted for this. That's the goal. That's the hope. Coleman Domingo, Nia Long, and Jafar, they just killed it. There's no other way around it. They did such a phenomenal job of making that movie come to life. So go check it out for yourself. Report back and let me know what you think. I believe that is this week's episode. My takeaway, I want to say for mental health and wellness is that as we, especially and again, these videos are hard for no matter if you're a male or a woman. I'm just saying as a woman, we know the fear. But what I will say is this: how do you control your mental health? How do you control your emotions? How do you do all the things when you're seeing these different stories go around and you're taking them in and you're doing all these things? It's a struggle. It's a struggle for me. It's a struggle because sometimes I find myself like not being able to concentrate because of the amount of stories that we're receiving. Whatever you choose to do for your mental health and wellness, regardless of the story sets that's coming through, what I'm asking is for you to literally dig deep and ask yourself, what is the one thing or two things or the three things that you can do on any given day so that you can be your best version, right? I want us to always rotate to that. I want us to always go back to that. So what are some of the ways in which you can control your emotions? What are some of the things that you can do to decompress? What are some of the things that you can bring to the table? Again, that's going to help you so that you can be a better version of yourself. A lot of people work on their outside. They want to get snatched by the summer. They're going to try to get their muscles in line. They're going to get the 6-pack, 8-pack, 10-pack, however many packs they got. They're going to do all the things. But are you taking care of your mind, the part you can't see, the part no one can see? Are you taking care of your heart about the things that are bothering you, but you're not really being honest? Please ask yourself that question. But you do know the drill by now. If this is your first time, welcome, because I'm going to tell the drill as I end every podcast. Find something that you can do that is just exclusively for you, that has nothing to do with the titles that you carry, that is going to fill your cup up. Find at least one activity this weekend. I will be back with you next weekend to talk about all the things that's happened on these internet streets, all the things that's happening in the mental health and wellness space. I'm going to be here to make sure that we have that conversation. Thank you so much for tuning in to Conversations with Toi, and I wish you a successful week this upcoming week.
Thank you as always for joining me, and I know that even in the deepest or joyful conversations that there's something we can learn and apply. Until next time, I hope that you are doing better. If not, we will be back to talk some more and handle it. Peace to you and yours. Stay grounded.